Okay, hearing none, we will go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March 4th. Does anybody need a little more time to look those over? We will go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March 4th. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes as presented. A little more time to look those over?
I so move.
Go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the March 4th. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion over?
I so move.
Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the March 4th. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion over?
I so
Okay,
move.
I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March. Moving on with old business, motion to approve those. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about?
I so move.
Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes from March. Moving on with old business, motion to approve those. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about?
I so move.
Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes. It's been moving on with old business, motion to
direction.
Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about?
We had a couple of
Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes. It's been moving on with old business, motion to direction. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about?
We had a couple of
Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes. It's been moving on with old business, motion to direction. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about? Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval of minutes. It's been moving on with old business, motion to direction. Does anybody need a little more time any further discussion we've been talking about? Okay, I'll go forward with this agenda. So the next item is the approval.
March. And what I'll do is I'm going to share my screen and then we'll go through this document together today. I shared it with the library directors at our meeting just about an hour ago and got a couple of initial comments from them. The directors will also be taking some time after these meetings to review it more thoroughly and to provide any other comments. The committee would like to gather feedback from the CLB and the library directors about this outline. We'll incorporate any comments, suggestions, or make any necessary changes. Then we will bring a revised draft of this outline back to the Coos Library Board for approval at your next meeting. So I will pause now and share my screen. Okay, so in front of you now, you have a Word document that on the left-hand side lists the steps in the process. In the center, a column for when, and on the right-hand side, the who. And as I said, this is a draft, so we're open for comments and feedback from the group. Suggestions. So this we'll share today, and then Stacy, if it's all right, I'd like to ask you to send out the document to the group for further review. I know something that's come up several times with my own library board with this sort of thing is that comments and discussion should be shared with the administrator and not through a group chain of emails because you guys are a public body. You're subject to public meeting laws, and so you want to avoid making your comments as a group outside of one of your meetings, but you could direct comments or suggestions to the ESO office administrator. Stacy, is that right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll go through this outline together. First on our list is to determine all of the stakeholders that will be involved in the process and determine the basis for selecting our criteria, meaning which group of statistics are we going to be looking at, which fiscal years, how will we deal with the COVID period, and trying to answer the questions that are listed here. Carol, also, since this is your draft, Carol, if you want to jump in at any point and explain further, please do so. Our suggestion is to complete that by the end of September of this current year. And the people involved with that will be a mix of the committee, the Coos Library Board, and the library directors. Once we accomplish that, we'll actually get into the criteria itself, selecting which criteria will be used. Our target date for that is October. Then once we determine those criteria or factors, or some examples could be something like circulation or population, we'll move into determining the weight of those and drafting sample formulas. We'll also begin to discuss what an implementation plan would look like. Previously, when we've talked about an implementation plan, it's been a phased implementation. Previously, we discussed a portion of the annual allocation being calculated using the old formula and then gradually increasing the proportion of that that's done with the new formula. So those are examples of the types of things we would be discussing. The goal would be to determine the criteria, the weight, and have a formula drafted by the end of this calendar year, December 21. After that draft formula is ready, we would seek stakeholder input on the criteria, the weighting, the formulas, and the implementation plan. In January of 22, we would gather that information in January, February, and hopefully have that ready to go in the form of a recommendation to the Coos Library Board in March of 22. And I'll pause there and see if anyone has any questions. That seems like a good place to pause. Okay, hearing none, I will keep moving along through our document. The Coos Library Board then would have it on their agenda in April of 22 to approve this recommendation on the new formula, the criteria, the weighting, all of those elements to the formula, and an implementation plan. It would then be forwarded to the county commissioners. Timeline here has it in September of 22. Following that approval by the county commissioners, then the library, cities, or other entities would be able to budget accordingly for the allocation change. We did get a comment this morning that having that all signed, sealed, and delivered with a date of January 23 might be a little bit late for a 23-24 budget. So that's something that I'm going to take back to our committee. And then Carol and Horty also included, which I think is very valuable and really appreciate them doing this, is to wrap this up with some ongoing review procedures for the allocation that would be submitted to the CLB that would help us understand how we'll move forward with the allocation and how we'll be keeping it up to date so that we don't find ourselves in this position again. It's of course possible that we develop a formula that kind of naturally keeps up with the changes in service population or other factors that could affect a library's budget or need for funding. But I think that it's great that we have it here on our to-do list to make sure that that's covered. So that is the draft timeline. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the committee? I'm going to slowly move my screen back up to the portion where we've really got the majority of the work that we're doing here in the middle, so you guys can take a look at that again.
I don't have, no questions come to my mind, but just listening and looking at this, it looks, I mean, you guys have thought through a lot, which I really appreciate. And I like the stakeholder input that we're following as we go through. And yes, the idea to evaluate yearly.
Remind me again, who is committee? Who's in the committee?
The committee is currently myself. I'm going to actually come out of presenting mode so I can look at the folks who are in the room so I make sure I get everybody. So it's myself, Horty, who is not present here today, Doug, Carol, and Linda Kirk.
So Haley, you did say that you'd be sending out a copy of this so that we can look at it at our leisure.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to ask Stacy to do that. And yes, that will go out to the full group. It'll go out to the board. I've already sent it to the library directors. So they have that, but Stacy will send it out to the CLB members.
If all goes well, and there is a selection that happens by the end of the year, great. If not, I'm just assuming we'll revise this. We'll come back and revise this and also talk about how that will fit in a budget year. I think that's important for cities. So if they have those big changes in their library funding, the cities have an opportunity to work with them. Which may bump it yet another year, but I know this has been a long work in progress.
Lori, I just wanted to say a couple of things. As I was grappling with this, two things that kept occurring to me is the stakeholders, which are so many people who are not specifically listed here. City councilors, all the library board people, perhaps, friends groups, foundations, so many people. And you can see I didn't bring those in until basically the committee, the CLB, was ready to make an actual recommendation with the help of library directors and librarians. So we also have had concerns from library board members wanting to be fully part of this discussion. So, I think the big question in my mind is, when do the library boards get their input? Do they do it just along with their library directors, and the library directors bring those comments to the CLB? Big questions in my mind on that. And stakeholders may include a wider circle of folks. It may be community members. So just my confusion, if you will, to insert here.
Yeah, I see that. When I read determine all stakeholders at the beginning, in my mind, we were processing through that, but really we're just determining that. Who are the stakeholders?
Who they are.
At that point.
Which will make a difference later as to who they are in terms of the timeline and everything. The other thing I forgot to say just now, and then I'll shut up. Going through the process of, once there's a recommendation, of getting approval from the stakeholders is going to be a long one. no matter how you slice it, and especially as it's going to depend on scheduling of meetings and gathering of comments. So I was trying to build in, I think, a couple months at the end. Can't remember. But that may be the thing that pushes it into another year as well. But it wants to be thorough and it wants to be well thought out and solid.
Yeah. I really appreciate that work. Anybody else have ideas about stakeholders? It's a bit tricky because you could get nowhere in a real hurry if we take input early on the process and continually. At some point we need to have something out there, it seems to me, to run by the stakeholders. And it does say, like, what is this, the fifth one down, committee seeks stakeholder input through the library directors. Does that mean the library directors are the ones giving that input, or they're seeking input like from their boards? We don't know. Okay.
Lori, can you repeat where you were in the document there?
Yes, I was just down below. It's on the step. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one listed, where it says committee seeks stakeholder input on criteria, weighting, formulas, implementation plan. It's January 2022, and it says library directors are who is doing that. But then my question was, will they be conferring with their boards on that, or their friends groups, or is that the library directors giving the input at that point?
Maybe that's the library directors and their board's decision on who to consult
for the input.
Yeah.
As I read that as a director and as the one who would be responsible, I did make the assumption that I would be going to my board and probably to my city administrator with that, but we can certainly clarify that in the document. I'm going to make a note of that. And Carol, I've also made a note about the comments you made regarding the approving recommendations and CLB stakeholder input a little bit further down the line. And just a note too, that we anticipate that will take a lot of time to get everyone's approval for practical reasons and because I expect a lot of discussion.
Yes. It makes good sense to me that it's there and that we have time to process and formulate something for them to review. Otherwise, the time factor, I can see this taking us 10 years if we do it at each step or every other step. Yeah.
It's so already taken a few.
Exactly. I like where you, personally, I like where you have it.
I really think there ought to be a deadline though, or else it will extend for like 10 years, like you said, Lori. There does need to be a deadline.
And I'm guessing January 2023 is the intentional deadline currently on this draft, which was Francis's recommendation last meeting, that we start with a target date and then we move backwards, which it looks like you've done.
That's what we did.
So Doug, are you suggesting that we as a board make a hard and fast deadline?
Once it's submitted to the stakeholders, yes.
Okay.
You should say you all have, I don't know, 6 months to discuss it and approve it or disapprove it. Yeah, something just as a ballpark figure.
Yeah.
Thank you for that suggestion, Doug. I'm going to put that in the comments on my draft.
I would still like to see a good definition of who exactly is a stakeholder.
Due September 2021.
Yes, Carol's right. That's the first step, is to make a list of who is a contributor. And I think I really, really appreciate the CLB giving us this direction and making this request to get it on paper, because I think it will give a lot of folks reassurance that they will be included in the process and that the CLB is interested in hearing from them. And also, Lori, as you said, in terms of timeline, it's nice to have the steps defined so that as we know what we're moving through, so that if something interferes, like a pandemic, we can more easily pick up the work where we left off.
Well, I really appreciate this work. I know that many of you have worked, as you mentioned, Doug, years, or maybe Carol said that, years on this.
I've been doing it for 8 years. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Haley, did you get that package I sent you a few weeks ago?
Yes, I did, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Anything else? So at this point, you just need our input, which we can submit to Stacy. Is that what I'm understanding? Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Anything else for the allocation committee from anyone? Other than thank you, thank you, thank you, and again, thank you. It's huge.
I just have to add one thing, and that is that Doug did such a fantastic job of herding cats, basically, for those 8 years, facing an uphill challenge. And but I think all that groundwork is going to help us now.
Excellent.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
On the shoulders of giants, right?
Oh, Lori, please.
Okay, so let's, we appreciate you. Let's move on to item B in old business, OLA update.
So since our last meeting, we had the OLA conference, and we had decided that we were going to use, due to COVID, we weren't able to do our staff development day, getting all of the staff for the entire CCLSD together was not something that was going to be able to happen. So we decided to use those funds to get everybody access to that conference. It was incredible. All the staff loved it. The directors all got feedback from their staff, which I'll forward what I've received to you guys through email. But we learned so much. It was equity, diversity, and inclusion was the theme this year. So all about Asian, Hispanic, Blacks, Indigenous communities. We learned a lot. So they just wanted you guys to know that they were very appreciative that we were able to do that, and all the staff was able to go. Which has never happened before. So thank you guys for letting us do that.
Well, thank you for the idea. That was a great shift where we could send everybody. Okay, next up is board member position updates.
So we are going through the process of we had 3 positions that expired this year. Lori's position, Barbara's position, and Horty's position. And unfortunately, Horty has decided to step down. So she's going to be replaced. I do not have her name. Jennifer, do you want to? The new.
Kathy, oh my goodness, my brain is just like not working. Yeah, she was a board member of mine, and then her term ends. Her last name is not coming to me, but her first name is Kathy.
Thanks. So we are going through the process of getting you guys all approved with the city councils. It's going smooth so far. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have that done, and we'll have you guys all official starting the beginning of the fiscal year.
Awesome.
Did I miss something? Is Lori going to continue in her position?
Yeah. So Lori and Barbara are both continuing.
Super.
And then
Johnson.
Yes.
Barbara Johnson.
Kathy Johnson is going to be taking over for Horty.
And so that will be July 1st.
Correct.
Excellent. Item number 5 on the agenda is new business, and we have none listed. And we had no changes to the agenda. I'm assuming we have no new business at this time. Okay, moving on to ESO report.
ILLs are starting to pick back up. There's still a lot of libraries out there that might be open, but they're still not doing lending. So the numbers are a lot lower than they used to be. I just hired an interlibrary loan technician. So she's been here for a couple weeks now. So she's getting the swing of things, and we've ramped up our lending. So those numbers should all be increasing. As far as our outreach, we're still trying to add in books by mail patrons. As far as lobby stops, our outreach technician has talked to a couple of the directors at the different facilities that he visits for lobby stops, and they're hoping by the end of the summer that we'll be able to get him back in those facilities with those people. As more and more of them get vaccinated, they're able to accept visitors. So that's what's going on there. Digital content, pretty much the same. Nothing, no big changes there. We're still just plugging along with all of that, trying to build our ebook collection on Overdrive. That really took off with COVID and nobody being able to come in. So we're really trying to put that ESO book budget into that to get as much e-content as we can. I guess I'll throw in here too, we're getting ready to, in September, switch from our current catalog, which is Koha, over to a new company called, or a new configurement called Aspen Discovery. And it will include all of the physical content, digital content, databases, libraries that have Hoopla. It'll include all of that into our Coastline catalog. So it'll be a lot more inclusive. Things will be a lot easier to find. So I'm really trying to build that digital library up so that when we do get to that point, there will be a good amount of stuff there for people to borrow. As far as our current budget, let me see if I can get it pulled up here. We are, the last numbers I have are from April, and it looks like we are 83% of the fiscal year elapsed at that point. And as far as materials and services, we've only used 52% of that budget. Overall, we're at 41%. So we're substantially lower in our budget, which will help with our carryover. So yeah, we're staying where we need to be as far as that's concerned. And I think that's about it for the ESO report, unless anybody has any questions.
Sounds like we're good. I apologize for that interruption.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, next up is the director's report. So I'll just open it up and see if there's someone that would like to go first.
I'll go first.
Awesome.
So in Lakeside, we've been open, I don't know, for quite a while now, and we have a limited schedule still, limited people at work, but we're starting to pick up our numbers gradually. We started out pretty slow. People weren't coming into the library. My entire staff has been vaccinated, so we're pretty happy about that, to get that done so that we don't have to worry so much when we're here working without patrons. We are having our patrons who come in the door wear masks, and we also are wearing masks when we have patrons in the library. We had a big donation for someone to replace our windows in our computer area, our public access computer area, but now I can't find a contractor who's willing to come do it. So that's kind of ongoing. We're working really hard on the summer reading program. We're going to have a grab and go program again this summer since we don't have a real good space to meet other than a pretty cramped boardroom. So we're working on that. Our friends had their first meeting in over a year, and they had their first book sale, and they raised over $200 on books. Other than that, you know, just getting back into the swing of things and thinking about, you know, opening up some more hours. It's been really hard to be pretty isolated out here in Lakeside from everyone. So I'm looking forward to having some in-person meetings with my fellow directors and you all too. So we're doing good though. We're just plugging along. That's all I can really say. We keep up on our ordering of new materials, so we have lots of things going out on holds. Appreciate the new Executech employee, Jesse. He came out this last week, was really nice, and I really appreciated some of the stuff he had to say to us. Other than that, I think we're all good in Lakeside.
So thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess I'll go next. This is Joni. We just found out last week our children's librarian is resigning. She's been offered a job with more hours, so that's kind of disturbing since summer reading is coming up very soon. But we'll figure out a way. We are open from 10 to 4 Monday through Friday, and not a whole lot of people coming in, and we're kind of limiting who does, you know, we're not letting a whole lot of people in at once. And our programming we've been doing it outside. And that's something that I was talking to Buzzy about for a state grant through the state library. I was asking if we could get a gazebo or something, some kind of covering outside so we could do programming whether it was hot or raining. He said they won't do construction, but possibly like a restaurant type tent thing, outdoor dining. So I'm gonna maybe pursue that one, and because it would be nice to have something outdoor covered where people could even use computers, the Wi-Fi, and not be out in the rain. Our summer meals are going to be starting on June 14th. They're going to be grab and go on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's through the Cook Hill School District. We've been working with them for the last few years. We're having a townwide sale this weekend. It just Powers Action Team usually does it, but this year just some folks decided we're just going to do it. So if you want to come to Powers, I'm not sure how many sites there are right now, but we're going to try and get rid of some of our books that we weeded last year because we have a whole lot, and I don't know what we're going to do with them all if we don't get rid of them. So that'll be interesting, but yeah, we're just plugging along as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Joni.
You're welcome.
Nice. Okay. Anybody else? Should I just go one up? Let's see. How about Myrtle Point?
Shanna? Hi there. This is Shanna at Myrtle Point. We are really happy to have patrons in browsing and using the computers. We have a capacity limit, but it is not been approached, so it just feels like business as usual, and it's really great. This year we are also doing take-home packs for summer reading, basically the same thing as we did last year, just bags full of real quality books and some activities, and they can be distributed throughout the summer. We're also a summer meal site, and like Joni, I also do not have a programmer. So we'll be, I have an unavoidable trip in the middle of July, but after that we'll be opening up for hiring.
Nice. Thank you, Shannon. I'm just going down and then I'll go back where we stopped and go up. How about North Bend?
Okay. I hope it's okay that I mention this. I didn't run it by Stacy and Sammy first, but I worked with Stacy and Sammy this month to make an application to the Oregon Community Foundation on behalf of the library district for some special K-12 summer program funding. So I would ask that all of the board members, please keep your fingers crossed. We haven't heard yet back on our application, but I really appreciate Stacy and Sammy's help getting that done. We would be using the grant funds if we receive them to partner with additional meal sites in the county and kind of capitalize on the success that they've had in Powers and Myrtle Point and some outreach that we've done in Coos Bay and North Bend to provide materials to kids at those lunch sites related to libraries and STEM programming. So keep your fingers crossed for us. I also want to share, related to the district, that the Coastline Library Network was recognized by the United Way for excellence in community partnership this spring. They offered or opened up to the public for nominations for community organizations who had really helped support South Coast communities during the pandemic, and the Coastline Libraries were recognized. And the nomination highlighted the take and make programs that we had done, offering computer appointments and curbside service, a lot of things that we've all been doing. And I just wanted to share that and say that people noticed and they reached out to United Way and we got that special recognition. Let's see, at North Bend specifically, we've been working on an RFID implementation. We've gotten our staff equipment installed and we'll start tagging items within the next couple of weeks. That project was approved by the North Bend City Council as part of our regular budget earlier this spring. We're also excited for summer reading, and we're going to try using the Beanstack online program that Coos Bay has been using, I know, at least one summer prior, so we're going to try that. And we also have started sending out a monthly email newsletter. So if you aren't on that mailing list, you can go to the North Bend Library website and get signed up. And that monthly newsletter lists our programs and events for adults and children. And let's see, last thing that I don't think has come up yet, so I'll also share, is that I'm really excited that we're going to get to go to the fair. We talked about that in our directors meeting and made our plans to have our library district booth at the fair, and I'm really excited about that.
Nice, thank you, Haley. Moving up, I didn't see Betty here. How about Ivy or Sarah for Coquille? Would you care to share some things happening?
Sure, I'm Sarah. I'm sorry I'm late to getting the set up here. So we at Coquille just started having people inside for browsing and computer appointments this week. It's been really exciting. It's gone very smoothly. Except our printing, we've had a hiccup with our printing from patron computers, but that's okay. We're getting that fixed. So that's been really great. For summer reading, we are planning on doing Storytime Picnic. We're really fortunate because we share the building with the community building. So we have a large gymnasium where we usually do story times. But this time we're going to be able to space out family groups, and we're going to have a little picnic basket with free books for them to choose from and snacks. And Molly's going to project the books that she reads up on the big screen so that everybody can see them. We are so excited about that. We're trying to get hiccup in the meal sites worked out because normally they show up right after we're done with story time, and then the pool, which is right next door, opens up right after that. So we're hoping they can fix the glitch and continue to do that this summer because everything is open. The pool opens up this weekend here in Coquille, so it's going to be a great summer, and we're excited about fair. So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Sarah. Coos Bay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah.
One more. Our director is retiring this July. So we are looking at hiring a new director, but we're not. Our city council is not sure when. So we're going to have some changes for a little while. Just a heads up.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, now I'll go to Coos Bay. Sam?
Okay, well, we're kicking off our summer reading season with We Are a pilot program site for Oregon Natural History Museum. We're going to do Oregon's Dino Story, where we're going to have an exhibit in the library and have some takeaway kits for kids to do. And then launch into the regular summer reading where we'll also be using Beanstack. This will be our second year of using it. And other than that, we're just busy. We're open back up 6 days a week now. We do still have some limited hours, but we are open and for public computer use and other such things. So it's going well.
Nice. Thank you, Sammy. Jennifer.
Hi. Okay. So at Bandon, I've been away for a little while, so the gears are a little rusty, sorry. But at Bandon, we are still in the midst of also doing an RFID project. We kind of stalled out before I left, and I'm hoping to get it reinvigorated. Our staff is tagging. We have all the equipment. It's just not installed and up and running yet. Hopefully that will happen after I get back shortly. That was supported by or paid for by our Friends group. So off of the bequest that they got. Then also we are going to be open for regular hours starting June 10th. We have changed hours due to reduced staffing. So instead, I don't know if you guys want to know here what our regular hours will be, but they it'll be noon to 6 Tuesday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday will be 10 to 4. And that's pretty much what I have.
Nice. Thank you. I think I'm muted. Oh, no, I didn't mute that time. Okay. Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I think I got everybody except for Betty, so we'll catch her next time. So the next item on the agenda is the next meeting. And I am thinking, I'm looking at the back at the Coos Bay Library Board allotment committee process timeline. 3 months would be September, 4 would be October, and October has select criteria to be used. So I'm wondering if October might be the best option so the committee can, you guys can hop in here, Haley and Carol, Doug. Would that work better for you if we met in October?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So now I'm looking at a calendar, Thursday in October. We typically do Thursdays. I don't know why. Has that been a tradition I've just missed, and now I'm realizing it now that I'm making them up?
Probably a tradition no one remembers the source of.
Okay, how about
because the directors used to meet on Thursdays and we were combining our meeting right before or right after theirs.
Okay, so is there a director meeting set?
Yeah, so ours are always the first Thursday.
Okay, so that would be October 7th. Let's plan that, and then if for some reason it's not going to work in my schedule, at 11:30.
What time?
11:30.
Anybody else getting a weird sound?
Yes.
I was wondering if it was just me.
No, it's all, yeah.
Getting an echo.
It sounds like a spaceship sound from an old bad TV series or something.
If everyone were to mute except the person talking, that might fix it.
Oh.
Hey, we figured out whatever the source was gone. So I think that brings us to the end of the meeting, unless somebody has something for the good of the order or something they want to bring up. Okay.
I would like to say thank you for all the hard work for Tidal Wave. I didn't get to participate in everything, but I certainly enjoyed getting a free book and seeing all of the, hype around the event. So good job to all of you. Hype sounds like maybe a negative word, and I don't mean it in a negative way.
It's good hype. Pumped us up, right? That's what happens when I get those. I am on the North Bend email and I get those programmings and I go, oh, I want to do that. Oh, that would be fun. It does hype you up. Anything else? Thank you for that, Tara. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call this meeting to a close at 12:21. Have a great few months and we'll see you in October.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. Bye.